Good morning, everyone. That's not project team, my friend. Good morning, everyone. Yes, that sounds like we are with the project community now. Well, my name is Sajan Parihar, and I'm going to be your host for today's session. We have a pretty packed agenda here, so I think I'm going to just jump into some of the things that to talk with you guys today. And I think we still have people coming in. So anyways, I think we'll get started. So for today's session, we are pretty much going to talk about our vision for project and portfolio management. But we have packed it with lots of demos. So as far as our agenda is concerned, and we have tons of things here, and I'll be joined by my two colleagues, Howard and Mike. They'll be co-presenting with me. In fact, Mike will be doing all the demos. He's the same guy who did an awesome job at the project conference. And once you do a good job, you get penalized, and we keep asking him to come with us again and again. So that's something which we are going to cover today. And with regard to the agenda, at the first we'll talk quickly about our vision, and then I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the solution, like what the project and portfolio management solution is about. Because I still hear a lot of questions from customers, like when should I use portfolio management versus a project management? It's some of the basic things which I'm trying to address. And we'll follow that with a product demo, and we will do demos in two parts. First, we will cover what is inside the product today. After that, Howard will come and talk about the future roadmap. And then we'll demo some of things that we literally just brought to preview yesterday. As you might have heard, that Office entered public preview yesterday, and the same thing applies to project as well. So we'll start to show you some of the good stuff that we have been working on. And then we'll quickly cover some of the next steps. So again, think of this session as the first session that you have here for project, but this is like an introductory session, and we'll have many more sessions at the conference. And towards the end, I will guide you to the rest of the sessions we have. And then we will try our best to keep 10 minutes for Q&A, so we'll see like how much progress we can make with that. So let me first start. I think this is a theme you must have heard. I mean, like, okay, things are changing. And I would say that every generation feels that they are unique and things are changing around them. And the only thing which is constant is change. So today it's our turn to say things are changing around, and they're changing quite rapidly. And there are a lot of things that you'll see are changing around us in our daily lives as well as in our professional lives. And I'm just going to talk about only like 3 or 4 things which I see are very relevant to project and portfolio management. Before I do that, I would like to do a quick show of hands. How many of you are working as project managers? That's great. That's quite a lot of people. Okay, that's great. And how many of you work in IT department? Excellent. That's great. So I think the trends I'm going to talk to you about are very relevant to all of us. Folks who are connected to technology or who are working in the project management space. The first thing I'll talk about here is, if you think, like we used to have long product cycles. And I'm going to talk about Microsoft as a case study. I think we were infamous that we wouldn't bring something unless we take 3 years. That was an incredibly long time. And now with time, okay, we simply can't afford that. We all have entered into an era of rapid innovation. The cycles are getting short, and yes, you're getting small things in small bursts, but I think that's how things are happening around us. And if you look at Microsoft, how we have changed our last 2 years, I've been with the company for 6 years. And I can tell you I feel the change. And sometimes I miss the old days. Once you ship something, you could be in a cruising mode for 3 years. And it will be nice, relaxed. You have a good work-life balance. But now what we call is always on. Okay, it's like you are shipping a service. You get some feedback, be from your customers or partners. You start to act on it, and you all are moving with that. So that's what I call as an era of rapid innovation. Next, there are different modes of communication. Like, back in the days, we used to write letters. I think we still write some letters. And then we came to email. We are still using email. But with time, we are seeing more and more people, they're getting work done through social collaboration. And by social, I don't mean that Facebook. What I mean is, there are different means, like something like Yammer. You might be using Link. You're doing, voice calls with Link. You are doing video calls. All of that, we talk about that as social collaboration. Next, we used to have traditional workplace. I still remember, like, about 10, 15 years ago, when I had my first job, I was a scientist for some reason in bioinformatics. You go to office at 8, you're done at 4, the work doesn't follow you. That was a lot of goodness to that. Now, you don't do that anymore. I think it's like you can call it telecommuting, or you can call, so work from where you want to work. It gives you a lot of flexibility. At the same time, it creates a lot of different challenges we didn't have in the past. That means you should be able to see your work from wherever you are. Like, even you are here at the conference, I bet that all of you are not on a vacation here. I mean, I still see folks have their laptops on. Okay, either they're taking notes or they're responding to emails. So your work is with you all the time. And the same thing is true even for projects. So you'll have to see your task on the go. You want to see it from different devices and like that. And last but not the least, the next thing I talk about is like around data. So we have gone from a place where we had less data, less insights, and as we start to digitize things, we started to create more and more data. And now we have a challenge that we have got too much of data. And I think how we can differentiate is how we can draw right insights from that data. Now, all of these things, I think these are things that are impacting all industries. As I said, Microsoft is like one such example. And I would say the same thing holds true, be it you're in education, even if you're a government, you have to change. You have to start to change accordingly. And for any company to survive in the volume of changes that are happening around us, you need to transform. And I think you'll hear this thing again and again from all of us, that we all need to transform so that we can thrive into this. Because with changes, you get a lot of opportunities. Yes, you can see a lot of challenges. At the same time, it will create a lot of opportunities for you. Like I'll say that if you look at Microsoft as a company, cloud has been a big change for us. I mean, if you look at, like, we were traditionally on-premise software company. It has been a huge change for us. But turns out what? It is one of our biggest opportunity we ever had. Like, if you look at the stats we have released yesterday, Office 365 is now the fastest growing business at Microsoft. And I think we just announced in our quarter release, we are at a run rate of more than $6 billion in annual revenue. That's a huge opportunity for us, and that's just an example. So you have to embrace the change, and you have to drive that. But just merely transformation is not enough. I think you need to be smart about how you're transforming it. Because with change, you'll see that companies will go left and right, and you need to be smart about transformation. And I think that's the place where I see, like, IT has a big role to play, and that's why, like somebody said in the keynote yesterday, that IT is not information technology, it's innovation and transformation. Because a lot of this transformation is going to go through a technology change. Your companies are going digital. Your customers are living in a digital world, and that's where I think IT has a huge role to play. At the same time, I think I see a huge asset in a PMO office or project managers inside a company org. I think you can bring the discipline of alignment, execution, and help your companies drive collaboration. If you take 3 things from here, that's how you can help your companies transform. One is alignment. And I think if you need some data backing that why companies should care about being aligned, I've quoted some numbers here, and none of these numbers are from Microsoft. They're from external parties. Like you can see here in the first one, there are like 58 projects that companies work. They are not aligned to the business strategy. That makes you wonder that we are really, only 42% of the time, we are working on things which are aligned to the long-term strategy of your company. On the other hand, it's not hard to imagine that if you're working on well-aligned projects, you're going to get good funding, you're going to get good resources, you're going to get good internal champions, and as a result of that, your odds of success are going to be high. Next is around execution. I think alignment is good, but at the same time, you need to execute. I mean, any strategy is as good as your execution. If you don't execute well, okay, great, you had a great strategy that was on a PowerPoint deck, but nothing landed with your customers. And there are the 2 data points I will say that if we don't execute well, we are risking a lot of money. And I think there are some stats from, like, there are 14x more, like, investments at risk because of lack of good execution. That is essentially where I think a lot of project managers, they can differentiate, they can bring a lot of execution discipline, keep your things on track, on time, the classic project management thing that you have been doing, and you have to bring it to your businesses and not just limit that to IT. On the other hand, if you look at high-performing companies, One of the key differentiators they have is they get their projects done at the right time. They execute really well. And I think they execute well almost like 90% of the time. And the third pillar is around collaboration. And I think I'm going to tie a lot back to our yesterday's keynote. We talked a lot about team, especially with millennials coming into the workforce. You are seeing even more and more work is happening like in the form of a team. You'll form a virtual team. You have like a physical team in your office. And that's where collaboration is a key. And still, like, there is a 21% loss in productivity because of lack of good collaboration. Imagine that. If you can solve that, how much you will save for your companies. And it's no surprise that fixing collaboration is one of the key things for CIOs. In fact, 66% of CIOs, they believe that collaboration is a key to driving innovation. So just to wrap it up, I think in this era of rapid innovation, you have a great role to play. So I encourage all of you to really think about these three things, how you can help your IT department and bring that learning to your businesses and help them drive better alignment, execution, and collaboration. Now I'm going to switch quickly through some of the slides. So if you think about what is Microsoft philosophy from product standpoint, it's very simple. We will continue to offer you a comprehensive tool set. Like we have a project desktop for project managers. At the same time, we do realize that team members need a different experience, and that's why we have a browser-based experience for them. And at the same time, your portfolio managers need something different. They need things which work cross projects, and that's something we offer. Second is, we are mindful of the fact that a lot of you have different forms of devices. There's Windows device, iOS, Android, and that is something which we support different browsers, which can run on different devices. At the same time, we have started to venture into native apps, and I think that's something which we work with our partners. In fact, one of our partners, Sensei, is here today. They've done a tremendous job, and they've created a lot of native apps for us. So if you need native apps, I would say, Sensei is one of the partners. You should check them out. Third thing is around cloud and on-premise. Yes, while we realize that we are racing to the cloud, at the same time, I do see that a lot of large enterprises, that's more true for project, you will stay in a hybrid world. When I say hybrid, is cloud and on-premise. And I've seen so many customers who have current a project server on-premise, but as they start to work out, release the same thing they want for different departments, or they're scaling out, they're choosing cloud for that. And I think it's going to take a while for them either to take their on-premise software to the cloud, or a lot of you guys are going to stay in a hybrid world. And we do support both those options. Now, next thing is so what is our vision for this space? And I'm just going to give you a two-dimensional overview. Who knows, next time when you all have a HoloLens, we'll talk about three-dimensional vision. But for today, we'll live with the two dimensions. So on one hand, you have how the work gets done. That's on the y-axis. You do a lot of work as individuals. You form ad hoc teams. Like I will say that if you think about this session, it was me and my colleagues. We formed an ad hoc team. We just came together for this session. We'll be done, and then we move on from there. There's a lot of work that happens at project teams. And finally, you have supervisory work like your CEOs, CIOs, executives, and they do a different type of work in a sense that they want to get more insights and all. And from tool standpoint, on the bottom left side, we call this space as task management. And you can do task management in a variety of ways. And many people use Outlook for that. Some users use OneNote for that. And a lot of you use pen and paper, and that's totally fine. The next, in the middle, you'll see a space we call that as work management. And work management is something which you can do today with SharePoint. So we have a task app, and you can pull your task. You can form a team site, and you can do a lot of work with that. But this is an area where we showed you something around groups yesterday, and we're investing very actively in this space. I would say we'll have more out-of-box experiences that we'll start to share with you guys later this year. So just watch out for this space. I think we'll be doing a lot of good work here. But the focus for today's session is around project portfolio management. So you see that at the high end, that's where project and portfolio management fits in. So a vision for us is really we'll bring you, we'll meet all your needs, right from task management to work management to project management to portfolio management. And I can bet that there are very few companies who can really meet your needs end to end. That is something I think we take that as a huge differentiator for us as a Microsoft. And how we do that, That's something I'll talk in the next slide in the form of how our solution looks like. So like about 2 years ago, we moved our project and portfolio management solution to the cloud. So the way how many of you are using Office 365? Okay, that's great. So I'll say if you're using Office 365, you should be using the equivalent Project Pro for Office 365, because that works great. At the same time, you should be using Project Online. So those are things that you'll get. And one of the differentiators we have here is, like, we have built the whole solution around Office 365. We have literally taken Office 365 as a building platform, and we have built on top of that. Now, if you just take a step back, as you work on projects, you are working on a lot of documents. Let's take an example of IT. You might be working on a requirements document, and you need a lot of people to work on that. That's where you need co-authoring from Word. And yesterday we said we are going to support that for the rich client as well. And that's something, again, we get from Office. You need a project site. Yes, we already have that because SharePoint had it, SharePoint Online has it, and we are built on top of that. If you want like a feed, a social conversation, you can integrate Yammer to your project site. You want great insights, and we'll show a lot of good stuff here. It's not that we have built a new reporting solution. We are literally using Power BI. I mean, if you're on-premise, we use SQL Server, and for cloud, we are using Power BI. And likewise, you can see that we are literally using different things from across Microsoft, and that is something I would say is a huge differentiator for us. As you can imagine that yesterday, we talked about Cortana. You can ask different questions to Cortana. In a few months, we will start to show you that how you can ask Cortana. You can ask, hey, Cortana, show me projects that are running late. And Cortana is going to tell you. Because once we have our data come to Power BI, and from there, that's how we showed you from Cortana, it's not hard for you to imagine that we'll have the same thing for projects as well. And you can throw all kind of queries, reports, and all. I think the way you're going to interact is going to change with time. We do believe that more and more people are going to use natural user interface. Like many of us, we have got accustomed to touch now. It's only a matter of time we'll start to go with voice. And that's something you'll see we'll bring in our solution with project and portfolio management. So that is on the product side. But if I have to distill in functional capabilities, as I talk to different customers, there are a few common questions I see. I'll generally present them Office 365, and I talk about Project Online. And most of their questions, they really come down to these 4 things. Okay, my clicker is not with me. Okay, there it goes. The very first one is around how can you help our business team to align and help us to select better projects. Let me see, I think my clicker is... Okay, I'm going to use the keyboard here. So the first question we get around is, how can you help us to align business strategy and project selection? Second is, how can we increase success rates of our projects? And that's where your execution comes in. Third is, how can you help our project teams collaborate better? This is something I hear over and over again. You have distributed teams working on projects, and I think the key question is, how can you help us to collaborate better? And finally, other than security, the other question I get from customers is, like, I get it, I love cloud, I can see that I can be up and running pretty quick, but I do have my unique needs, my customers have different needs, and how can you really help us meet those needs? And for your unique needs, I think that's where you can use Office Store. Like we have add-ins, and our partners are creating a lot of apps, and I think that's the way we are going to meet your unique custom needs. One of the stats, just to give it to you, I think I was reading yesterday that we now have, every day we have like 14 million API calls being made to Office 365 just through add-ins. So there's a huge momentum. That's how customers are going to meet their unique needs. That's how you should think about. Let's say you're working in healthcare space, and you think, I need a different type of report. Okay. Before you start to create your own report, I would encourage you, go and take a look at Office Store. See if there's a partner who has already created something which might be similar, if not same, and they can probably customize their reports for you, and you can always sideload them to your own tenant so you can meet your own custom needs. And for the rest of those 3 things, there are a lot of functions and features, and I'm not going to talk through all of these. I think there are other sessions where we are going to dive more into these sessions. But just to give you a sense of the breadth of the solution offering that you get with Project Online, you can do alignment, you can do portfolio management, portfolio optimization. On the execution side, you can do scheduling, risk management, timesheets, there are a bunch of other things. And we finally talked about collaboration. So just to take this slide as in terms of the breadth of the solution that we have, so as and when you need any of those things, just think about if you're a project server, you probably already have this thing sitting right in your server somewhere. If you go to Project Online, you can do a lot of these things right there itself. And with our solution, I think we have been like in the business for, I don't know, more than a decade. As of today, I think we have the highest market share in this space. That's something which we are incredibly proud of. And we have like 20 million users, and we've got more than 10,000 organizations. And we could have not got to this, or we don't have so many customers without our partners. And if I can leave you one good point here, one of the key things I have seen that how customers succeed or fail with their project implementation is by choosing a right partner. So I'll really encourage you to make sure that you are getting a right partner to work with you, because that's going to be a key success differentiator for your implementations. And we've got hundreds of partners worldwide. And I'm just going to quickly touch some of those guys who are here. Like we have AdviceCon, DeltaBond, Progility. They are like great consulting partners. And I think all of them, they are here. So you should definitely check out their booth. If you're looking about doing migration from on-premise to the cloud, so Fluent Pro can help you with that. They have solutions that can help you move. Next, you have Project Host. If you're going to live in a hybrid world, and I see many customers, they say that I want to keep my servers, but take it to Azure. And Project Host can help you do hybrid deployments. Next, we have UMT 360, which I would say they are one of our best ISV partners. And they can help you with application portfolio management. They can also help you with financials. I think that's their strength. And finally, like we talked yesterday, that we do meet needs across a variety of industries. And we have like different industry solutions. And Vincere is one such partner that brings a lot of industry flavor. So if you're in biotech, if you're in pharma, healthcare, health sciences, that's the space that they play in. And all of these partners, they have booths out here. So I would definitely ask you to go and check them out. So with that, we will now shift over to our first demo. And I'm going to invite Mike to give us a demo for the product we have in the market today. Over to you, Mike.
Great, thanks, Sajan. All right, so we'll follow the themes that Sajan laid out around alignment, execution, and collaboration. We know that customers place a high importance on the execution of the projects that they've committed to within their organization. But we want to make sure that everyone knows the solution from Microsoft can also help with the selection and the prioritization of these projects as well. When you subscribe to Project Online or you deploy Project Server on premises, you actually have access to a full suite of portfolio analysis capabilities. So when you come here to Project Web App, you can actually define the business drivers that are important to your organization. Because really, you want to make sure that the projects that you're committed to are aligning with the strategic directives that have been laid out by your executives. So here, inside Project Online, you can actually list the business drivers that are most important. So here, you might be focused on expanding into new markets, improving customer satisfaction, maybe reducing expenses. And then once these business drivers are defined, you can actually map your projects to them. So you might have a set of projects that are focused on improving customer satisfaction or employee morale. Maybe there's a new build out in one of your buildings or something. So once those projects are mapped, you can actually create a prioritization based on the importance that your executives are placing on these projects. So you might have a CIO that's focused on expanding into new markets or reducing expenses. And here you can see that the increasing market share has about a 33% priority. So that's going to be most important to our CIO. Whereas unfortunately, improving employee satisfaction is down at the bottom. But that's all right. So once the prioritization is defined, you can come into the portfolio analysis and you can run your baseline analysis. So here, this is really easy. What will happen is the tool is actually going to look at all the projects in your portfolio, and it's going to say, all right, if we had an unlimited amount of money, or at least $22 million in this case, we could complete all the projects in our portfolio. So this would give us 100% of our strategic value. So that means we're completing everything that we've set out to do in our organization. There's about 31 projects, and this would give us 100% of our strategic value. Now, let's see a quick show of hands. How many have ever had their budget reduced in their organization? Just a few people? Okay. So if somebody comes back and they say, oh, okay, sorry, Mike, you are not going to get $22 million this year. We're going to cut that in half. Here, I can just reduce my budget, do a quick recalculation. Now what's going to happen is the portfolio analysis is going to look at all my projects, and it's going to compare it to those business drivers. And it's going to say, all right, if we only have $11 million, what are the most important projects that we need to commit to? So in this case, it's actually moved out a set of projects down here at the bottom that is determined our lower priority. So you can see here we're not going to be completing the elbow pads and a couple of others. But the good news is that even though we've reduced our budget by almost 50%, we're still completing 18 projects, which is still going to give us 72% of our strategic value. So this is great. Now, the portfolio analysis is recommending to us the projects that we should probably look at. And probably if we didn't have this tool, we'd be having a lot of discussions in the boardroom saying, oh, well, I think this is important, or what about this? But this really helps us bring data to the table when we need to make this decision. So now we've always had, we've all had an executive that says, oh, well, you know what, this is great. I really like this analysis, but you know what? Sorry, that health assessment tool, that's needed for compliance. We really, really have to have that. So here, I can just force this project in, do another quick recalculation. Now, the model is actually going to pull that project back in, and it's going to say, all right, even though I recommended that was lower priority, we'll force it in for you. And then there are an additional set of projects that it'll move out so it can make room for that health assessment and reporting tool. Now, unfortunately, the strategic value dropped down just a little bit, but the good news is we have all these projects that we need to do. Cool? How about a round of applause for portfolio analysis? Pretty cool? Looks good? Great. So once we've decided which projects we actually want to work on, our project manager is going to hit the ground running, right? And this is where we transition to the execution phase that we were talking about. So normally, they'd come to the project desktop, they'd start creating a list of tasks, maybe they'd be assigning it to some resources, trying to figure out if they're balanced or not based on the dates. But recently in the project desktop, we actually introduced a new view called the Team Planner. So if I flip over to the Team Planner, scroll down here a little bit, this actually pivots, and instead of seeing my list of tasks on the left-hand side, I'm now seeing the list of resources. So pretty easily, I can look at these red outlines and see that my marketing staff is totally overloaded. So here, rather than flipping back to my Gantt chart and reassigning tasks and updating data, I can actually just start dragging these and saying, all right, maybe marketing can help out with that. Maybe they can identify that. Maybe my inside sales can help with my internal communication. Let's drag that over there. You can see it still acknowledges the dependencies, and we'll drag that down. So just like that, I've rebalanced my resources. My marketing staff isn't overloaded anymore. Pretty cool? All right. So the other pain point we tried to address with the project manager is around how they get data out of the system. So here, if I flip over to the Report tab, and I click Dashboards, you'll see a full set of reports that we've completely overhauled in the project desktop client. So I'm just going to show a few of these. But now if I select burn down, I actually have a burn down that's generated right here in my project desktop client. This shows me the burn down of my remaining work against my baseline, and it's all ready for me to go right out of the box. Now I'll show you the cost overview. This is a great report. It'll actually show me the current cost of my project. It'll show me the remaining costs, even includes the percent complete. And then lastly, I'm going to flip over and show you the project overview report. So this is great. It actually shows the percent complete, the date range of the project, any upcoming milestones that we're about to hit in the project. So these are great. They've been totally upgraded right here in the project desktop client. And what's nice is I can actually copy all these chart elements. And as a project manager, when I'm ready to send out my status report or prepare for an executive review, I can just paste it right here into PowerPoint. Now, when I pasted this, I didn't have to do any funky screenshots or anything because these are actually built with the same Office chart components used across the Office suite. So here, when I select the chart, you can actually see that it's recognized as a chart component. So I can come in here and I can change the chart type if I want or take advantage of any of the other Office features. Pretty cool? Like that. All right. So for the next part of the demo, I'm actually going to use a Windows Phone here. And I'm going to use Office Lens, which you may have heard of. I'm going to take a picture of my awesome audience. All right. Smile. Okay. So here I'm actually using Office Lens, which is a product developed by the OneNote team. And I'm going to transition a little bit to the collaboration scenario that we talked about. So when you spin up a project in Project Online, you actually get a project site in SharePoint for that project. This allows you to take advantage of a lot of the artifacts in SharePoint. You actually get a OneNote notebook right out of the box where you can store all of your meeting notes. So what I'm going to do with the phone is actually show you how probably one of the most common scenarios is that you get a bunch of people in the room, you start whiteboarding, you draw a bunch of rectangles and arrows, and then at the end someone has to either write it all down or take a picture. So with Office Lens, we can send that right up to our OneNote notebook. And you also have a place to store documents, start collaborating on tasks, and track issues, risks, and deliverables. So if I flip over to OneNote, we'll see if this is synced up. Maybe it's still thinking. Let's sync this. That doesn't look like you. Let's see here. Yeah, you're invisible. All right. Let's see, try that one more time. Okay, well, the good news is I have a backup audience. So I'm going to show you. There's Howard. Okay? Exact same seat. So it must be a bug with the camera because all of you disappeared. So, all right. So I'm going to transition to one more scenario with the Windows Phone here. All right. Great. So the Office Lens is one scenario that's useful when it works with your mobile device. But we'll transition and talk about one more scenario. So one of the great things about Project, let's see here. Hold on. Let's try this one more time. Okay. All right, there we are. Great. So with your mobile device, there's actually a lot of other scenarios that are useful for your team members as well. Here, I'm actually going to demo an app that was written by one of our partners. Sajjan mentioned Sensei earlier. So with Project, you can actually take advantage of SharePoint apps, Windows Phone apps, and the entire apps ecosystem. This app is actually focused on the team member. So we've kind of moved from the portfolio manager to the project manager, and now we're focusing on the team member. Here, as a team member, I can actually come into the Sensei Taskmaster app, and I can see all the tasks that are assigned to me across my projects. I can look at all my current tasks that are assigned, any overdue tasks, any new tasks that just came in, or any incomplete tasks that I'm currently working on. So I have this on my fingertips. I can drill into any of these tasks. I can see how much work is left. If I need to submit my time, I can just hit Edit, and then I can modify my remaining hours, and I can submit my time card. So this is great if I'm in a pretty mobile organization. We know that our professional services customers use timesheeting heavily. So if you're in an industry like that, you can grab your phone, submit your time on the way out on a Friday night. And then lastly, if I need to see my full timesheet across all my projects, I can pull that up as well. So this actually has a breakdown day by day of how much time I've actually completed, how much time has been planned, so I can see if I'm focusing on the right task based on my scheduling. And if I need to, I can add an additional row, I can pull in a personal task, or I can modify my data. Pretty cool? All right. So that was just a little taste of how our solution follows the priorities of focusing on the alignment, the execution, and the collaboration across your organization. I'll hand it off to Howard now, and he'll talk about what we've been working on lately. Let's see.
Good morning.
I'm just going to move these over.
My name is Howard, and I am the GPM of Project. And I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about what's coming in the very near future. As you all heard yesterday, we announced the preview of the Office clients coming out. Project also participates in that. So if you go up to the link on Microsoft.com where we have the Office clients, the Project 2016 preview is now available up there for you guys to play with. So what I'm going to talk about is what we're delivering in that preview, as well as what we're doing for the server and the service over the next few months. And we'll be rolling these things out as we get them ready and into the service. This is a big change from how we used to do this, where suddenly we'd drop a lot of features on you in a big bang. But things have changed. When I got to Microsoft 18 years ago or so, we used to release things every 2.5, 3 years. So that's right, I've released, I think, 6 or 7 versions of Office in my lifetime at Microsoft. But things have changed a lot. And as you can see up here, some of the things that we've done over the years, sort of getting in sync with Office in 2003, getting all of the UI to be very similar to Office. In 2007, we brought in a lot of new resource management features. And then in 2010, bringing in all of that portfolio management stuff that Mike just showed you. And then finally, in 2013, we went to the cloud. This was sort of the big move that we had that really changed our business sort of forever. And now we've been releasing hundreds of features every year into the cloud so that you guys can get them faster and faster and faster. How many of you have a PWA site up in 365? Just curious. Okay, pretty good percentage. How many of you are part of the First Availability Program? Not as many. So for those of you who don't know, there's a program called First Availability, and what that does is it signs you up to get our code earlier in the process and lets you turn on features earlier than the general release of the product. And so what I'm going to be showing you, some of the features I'm showing you, are actually going to be available pretty shortly for those first availability customers. So one of the things that we've done over the past, 2 years since we've released is changed a lot and really responded to a lot of the feedback that we've gotten. So one of the first things that we got feedback on in Project Online is more reporting. So we released the OData interfaces, made them faster. We did Project Lite, which is a new SKU, lower cost SKU for team members to get at things like timesheets and things like that. And so these are the kinds of things that we're doing and reacting as we get feedback from you guys ever faster than we've ever been able to do before. So what I'm going to do now is start talking about some of the investment pillars that we're going to be rolling out over the next few months, and you'll start to see them. The first set around the desktop, so the core project management features that project managers love, really updating our UI to be easier to use, find commands better, doubling the timeline UI that we've done that people really love. Timelines are a great way to communicate with non-project managers. I'm fading in and out here. And people really love those, and so we're going to show you those. I'm not going to talk about every feature we have in all of these. There's a bunch of sessions later on, and I encourage you guys to go to those and get the deep dives. The next thing is we're really bringing in a new person into the collaboration zone of project, and that is the resource manager. We've done resource management in the past, but we've never actually brought in the resource manager with a user interface for that resource manager. And so I'm going to show you some of that, and then Mike's going to give you a demo of that resource management. And then finally, IT value. We've learned a lot running the cloud on how to run low-cost, giant servers with our cloud investments. So running at cloud scale has really changed the way we think about our service and our servers, and we're going to bring that to IT on premises as well. And so a lot of the learnings that we have there we'll bring to you guys as you start to manage your new installations of project. So let's go deep. Okay, so the desktop, the core of our business. Everybody loves the desktop. This is the home of the project manager. So the biggest things we've invested in are, the first one is multiple timelines. We get a huge amount of kudos around the timeline interface. The fact that you can build timelines, paste them into PowerPoint, share them with executives. Everybody understands timelines. So we've made a huge investment in our timeline infrastructure here. The ability to have begin and end dates on those timelines. Each timeline can have its own separate begin and end date. I can move tasks between the different timelines. And so really a great way to communicate with the people around you when the project is going to come in, when the different phases of the project are going to come in, and sort of really a whole new way of expressing the project to people, because not everybody understands Gantt charts, especially those outside of the project management community. So this is really a great way to communicate with others the status of the project. A big one, especially for partners in IT, we finally enabled Office add-ins to write back to the file. So classically, you've been able to build apps that have been able to read from the file, and now you can actually do apps that write back to the file. So things like updating files with data from back-end systems like ERPs and things like that, you can actually do that. And Mike will show you a demo of this working, and we'll have samples of this pretty shortly for you guys to play with. This enables partners a huge amount of flexibility in the apps that they can build and put in the store as well. Resource management. This is really our highlight investment this time. Like I said, historically speaking, we've done a great job with project managers. We've done a good job with team members, timesheets, things like that. And we've got reporting and reports for executives. But there is this person that's been sort of left out of the equation. And when we go and we meet with customers and we watch them work together, what we see is a lot of interaction with this person called the resource manager. This is the person who is the foreman, who is the consulting lead, who is the dev manager, who actually owns the people and the schedules of the people who you're using inside your project. And so how do you get them to buy off? Hey, I need that person. I need an expert in C# for 3 weeks. How do you do that? Well, you have to walk down the hall and you have to do all this stuff. Well, we've changed that now. And we've actually made that collaboration inside of the application and given a user interface to the resource manager to approve resource requests from the project manager. So here what you're seeing is a feature called resource engagements, and this is the ability to set up either a specific request for an individual resource or for a generic resource, where within the project app I can go and set up a request for that resource. And then, transitioning into the web and the power of the cloud, the fact that resource managers don't need the project client, they can actually go into the web interface. And so here is the new resource managers interface, and they can see all the requests that are coming in for their various resources. And they can check the box and either approve or deny the request. And this way, that resource manager actually becomes a part of the process. And you have a documentation of the fact that that resource manager approved or denied that request. And so there's less dickering over time. And it makes the experience much more collaborative bringing this new person in. And then finally, of course, the resource manager needs to be able to see the status of all their resources and how they're doing. And so what we have here is a heat map view of how the various resources are allocated over time that report to that resource manager. And so that resource manager can now see whether or not their resources are under or over allocated so they can make smart decisions about how they're going to allocate their resources. As you can see, this is a joint feature between the client and the server and the service. And so what you'll see is we'll be rolling this out over the coming months into the service. First, it will go to the first availability customers, and we'll test it out, get feedback, fix bugs, etc. And then we'll roll it out more broadly, and this is the way that we'll be delivering features going forward into the future. And so you'll be seeing this sort of show up. You won't see this in the project client until you're connected to the service that's available to it. So the next thing is IT value. Like I said, we've learned a lot running our cloud service. We have something like 10,000 front ends just alone for Office 365 that we manage every day, and that can get, as you can imagine, the machines themselves are expensive. The humans are even more expensive to manage that kind of hardware in our data centers across the globe. And so we've learned a lot in managing our services. So one of the first things that we had to do when we got the first bill for our hardware was sort of look carefully at the way that we had architected our application. And so one of the first things that we did was we said, look, we don't really need separate SQL databases for project. It's a lot of management overhead. We don't need it. Our IT friends don't need it, who manage our on-premises servers. So what we did was we consolidated the project database into the content database. And so what this implies is when you install the SharePoint system in the future, you will actually also be installing the project system. And so you don't have to actually do a separate install. You don't have to set up a different topology. You don't have to manage those SQL databases. You don't have to do backup and restores separately. And so this will dramatically reduce the cost to you of managing your project infrastructure. And so this has been great for us in the cloud, and this is one of the things that we learned sort of managing our own cloud at scale that we're now giving to you as part of our next server release. The next thing is about enterprise reporting. One of the things that we learned pretty early in the cloud business was that we needed a better API for getting data out of our system. We didn't want people doing reporting against our operational data store, so how do we get data out? So we built a set of OData interfaces that can be consumed by SQL Server reporting services, SQL Server integration services, and SQL Server analysis services. And so we built a new OData interface. And we've been working on making that faster. I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we released a new update into the web that increased the speed of the OData interface by something like 5x. And we're continuing to do that and make that interface faster and better. This actually pays off in a minute. I'm going to give you a little peek of something that we're doing right now. And these OData interfaces, OData is the new standard across Microsoft for doing data feeds, and you're going to see that that's going to pay off in some really interesting ways very shortly. The other thing with the consolidation of our infrastructure is we've had to rethink the way we integrate with Visual Studio Team Foundation services. And so we're doing a bunch of work to re-architect that, and we're re-architecting that in a way that we will be able to deliver that connectivity in the cloud. And so we've done a lot of work there, and so you'll be seeing that this kind of work rolling out probably early next year as we get this stuff rolling in the system. And this basically allows you to integrate project data into the TFS server and synchronize it backwards and forwards with TFS. This is a feature that many people have used for many years, but we had to re-architect it for the cloud. And so we'll be bringing that to you. The last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to bring Mike up to actually demo this stuff, is some work we've been doing with big data and insights. So the last sort of constituent that I haven't talked about yet is executives, the folks who write the checks. Boy, we continue to get this sort of request of like, I really want to get that set of reports, and I want it on my iPad, and I just want to, be able to relax on my couch, as executives do, and understand what's going across my portfolio of projects as I like to say, polishing my jet. So as I'm polishing my jet, I want to be able to see my reports. And so what we've done is we've integrated Project Online with Power BI. And Mike's going to show you a demonstration of this, but basically we can get all the data out of your project instance and report across all the different projects that you have and allow you to do natural language queries as well as drill downs into the projects that really give you a view of, for example, all the issues that are bubbling up across all your projects. And so this is really the view across all of project that you'll get as an executive. And Mike's going to come up and show that to us. One of the things I will tell you is that Mike is going to do his demos, and he's going to do them on real tenants that we have up in Project Online. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing is running in Project Online now. They are inside of, I'll call them secret tenants that we use to test on. And so a lot of the code that we've been running has been running in the cloud, and we're testing it right now as we go. It's a new way of really running our business and running our software and developing our software as we go. What am I flipping to for you? Adapter ring. So that's my bit. Mike is going to give you a little peek into what's coming in the preview that you can get right now. So you can go up online and download the project preview. And then he's also going to show you some of the stuff that's in Project Online and we'll be rolling out in the next few months.
Great. All right. So when we met with customers a couple of years ago, and even recently, there was a recurring theme. It was resource management. Everyone wanted more resource management capabilities. So I'll give a little bit of background about what that means. When an organization says, all right, we are going to commit to this project, we're going to build this building, we're going to build this airplane, we're going to build this new software, the project manager then has to go build out the schedule for how things are going to roll out. But there's usually a conversation because there's a different individual who's the resource manager that actually has the engineers reporting to them or the workers. They're also referred to as maybe line managers or leads. But the problem was, in our tool, there wasn't really a way for the project manager to do this handshake with the resource manager. So the feedback was that our customers really wanted a way for the project manager to request resources, and then for the resource manager to acknowledge that request and approve or deny it. So what I'm going to walk through now is basically the scenario of the project manager requesting the resources and the resource manager approving them. So the first thing I'm going to point out is that for the first time ever, the resource plan is actually available within the project desktop client. So here I have an empty schedule, but as a project manager, so first I'm going to play the role of the project manager. I'm here in the desktop client. I can actually see the resource plan for my resources that I'm working with and the weeks that they're scheduled. So here, when I come into my project, I might say, all right, I need to request some new resources. Well, now there's a brand new tab up here in the ribbon called Engagements. So now I can actually add a new engagement that'll be sent to my resource manager. So here I might say, all right, you know what, I'd really like to use Alex because we need to work on this Win 10 upgrade later this year. And let's say we want to start this like in October, and maybe it'll run for the full month. And here I can add a comment to my resource manager. I can say, can I please have Alex? Maybe I'll add a smiley face to put him in a good mood. So now I'm going to hit OK. And now you can see that this engagement has been entered into my resource plan. It's a draft because I haven't submitted it. But now I'm going to go ahead and submit it. I'll go ahead and submit all my engagements. And now this has been submitted. You can see the status has changed to proposed. So now this has been proposed to my resource manager. Now, my resource manager, he doesn't really care about Project Desktop, unfortunately. He actually comes to Project Web App. So now I'm going to play the role of the resource manager. So here I'm going to come into Project Desktop, or into Project Web App, and I'll select Alex, and let's say actually I'm the resource manager for my architects, and I want to look at any new resource requests across my team. So when I click Resource Request, there's a new view here where I actually see my resources and the tasks that they've been committed to. And look at that. What's that yellow one? It's the new one that just came in from Project Desktop. So I can see that my project manager has proposed a new engagement, and he actually wants Alex to work on this Win 10 upgrade. So that's great. I say, you know what? Okay, sure, you can have Alex. If I want, I can look at the tasks that Alex has been committed to here in my time phase view. There's columns that break out the weeks. I can flip over to a sheet view. That might be a little bit easier to see if I want to look at the sheet view of the tasks that Alex is working on. But as a resource manager, now I need to approve this so that my project manager can schedule Alex. So I'm going to click Alex's row, and I'm going to click Accept. And I'll say, no problem. And I'll hit OK. Now, I've actually committed Alex to this project. I've said, OK, that's fine. My project manager can use that resource. Now, in the project desktop, my project manager can refresh. And now, look at that. The resource is committed. So it's great. So that's kind of the full circle end-to-end of the project manager requesting resources, resource manager saying, OK, sure, you can have them. No problem. As a resource manager, there is some flexibility. If I want to propose a different resource, I could select David or Janet. I might say, oh, Alex is kind of busy. I'm going to give you somebody else. I could change the time frame. I could also say, maybe I just want to give you, Alex, 50%. Let me uncheck a couple of these. No, actually, let me check these again. And if I need to look across my team and kind of see where people are committed, we've also built out this great heat map. Ooh, this was a huge request from our customers because they want to visually see if resources are undercommitted, committed perfectly fine, or overcommitted. So here in this chart, you can see the yellow squares for resources that are undercommitted. They're either 0 or committed 50%. The green, they're committed 100% perfectly fine. Oh, but look what I just did to Alex. I overcommitted him. So we actually have a red flag as well. So I accidentally overbooked Alex for October. He's got more than one project going on, so I'd have to modify that. So that's great. This is the end-to-end resource management scenario. This is just a taste. We're actually going to spend probably about 20 minutes on this tomorrow in the IT PPM session if you want a deeper look. So now I'm going to flip over to the project desktop, and we'll go a little bit deeper here. Let me open up, let's see here, multiple timelines. Great. So Howard talked a little bit about the enhancements to our timeline infrastructure. We added the timeline a couple of releases ago. It was a smashing hit. We had lots of great feedback. People started using it immediately. But they started saying, you know, we really want the project manager to have more granular control over the timeline. We said, okay, well, what's better than one timeline? Multiple timelines, right? So now in the project desktop client, you can actually click the View tab, and you can select under Timeline, multiple timelines, and break these out. Now here I can take a screenshot of the tasks that are related to my campaign concepts. Maybe I can send this off to some individuals. I can take a screenshot of my, my marketing campaign tasks, send this off to other stakeholders. But this is great because I can give a subset of my stakeholders a quick snapshot of the project so they can see those tasks. And then my PMO is really focused on the holistic view. So pretty easily I can flip back to the single timeline and I can see everything in one place. Pretty cool? All right, so that's multiple timelines. Now let's go even deeper, and we'll talk a little bit about AppWrite. So how many people heard about the Build conference last week? Went on? Yep, a little more dev-focused. Well, at Build, we discussed our ongoing investment into Office add-ins. These are apps that run in the context of the Office suite. Just one sec, let me restart this. We really like to live on the edge. We're running brand new code. All right, so we'll just give this a second to pop back up. But basically, Office add-ins are custom code that run in the context of your Office suite. So an example might be you're working in Outlook, you're working with your calendar, you can have an Office add-in that pulls in location through Bing Maps or whatnot. Project actually supported Office add-ins when they were first launched. A year or so ago, but you could only read data from the project desktop. So one of the most common requests we got was that customers wanted to be able to write an app that could actually write data back into the project file as well. So this could allow you to update various data, maybe coming from an ERP or kicked off by different triggers. So what I'm going to do now is show you just a pretty simple example of an app we wrote that will actually write back to the project file. So here, I have an add-in that we built, and when I click Find Milestones to Complete, it's actually going to run a quick query over my tasks. There's a little bit of conditional logic there. We're just looking for milestone tasks. We're looking for tasks that are not 100%. So you see I have some tasks I had to prepare for this demo. That was done. Perform an awesome demo. I think that's going all right. Hopefully receive some speaker evals from you guys. And then get ready for the party later this week, which everyone's looking forward to. So now when I click Complete these milestones, this is actually going to write back to the file, and it's going to mark these as complete. So boom, just like that, you can see my percentage complete is 100, and these are all marked as done. Pretty cool? All right. So this is the first time you've ever actually been able to write back. I've met with a lot of customers that integrate with their ERP for financials, for forecasting, for all kinds of different business lines. All right, so now I'm going to flip over, show one more scenario. We talked a little bit earlier about Power BI. So 1 year ago at the project conference, we announced the ability to extract data using enhancements in SQL Server integration services. That was huge. It opened up a lot of scenarios for a lot of our customers. They were able to pull data out. They could store it online. They could store it in Azure. They could use reporting services. But over the year, there's been a lot of enhancements in Power BI as well. And since Project Online is built on Office 365, naturally you can take advantage of the Power BI features. So here we actually have a workbook that we built using Power Query, and we uploaded it to PowerBI.com. PowerBI.com is a site where you can aggregate your projects and your dashboards for your various lines of businesses. So using Excel, we created our reports, and then we sourced some of the charts right here into a Power BI dashboard. So here you can look at some of your fundamental metrics like number of projects, project cost. I'll drill into those more in a minute. But actually, I'll show you that with the data that's marked up in the workbook, you can actually start taking advantage of natural language query. And let's say I want to look at like project actual cost. Let me, let's see, let me refresh this. Okay. Project actual costs. Where are you, project actual costs? All right. Okay, still says loading. Let's give it one more try and see if it comes up. Okay, well that's not going to come back today. Not a problem. What I'm going to do is just flip over to Power BI app here. Okay. This kind of conveys the message a little bit easier if you're on a tablet. So, is that coming up? Let's see here. Hold on. All right. Hello. Okay. All right, that doesn't want to play nice either. It's okay. All right. Well, we're just going to walk through the Power BI dashboard a little bit on the laptop. But basically, when you create your dashboards in Power BI and you pull everything in here into one central location, what you can do is you can look at things like I said, number of projects, actual cost, and you can actually drill into these and link them to different views. So when I drill into number of projects, if this pulls up, you can actually look at the burn down, the burn down. Let's see here. You've seen it work? Oh, yeah. Let me see. Hold on. Let's try this. Okay. Okay, let's see if. Okay, I just switched my cable. I thought maybe that might help, but it's okay, no problem. I'm just going to walk through the. Okay, you guys are a very patient audience. All right, we got it. Okay, whew. Finally. Thanks for sticking with us. All right. So let's step back just a couple of steps. We'll talk about natural language query. I think you're right. It is the network because I flipped from. Yeah, we're trying to set the record on most devices, and maybe that wasn't a great idea. But basically, I switched from the wireless back to the hardwire, which was used for the Surface earlier, so that worked out. Okay, so basically, when you're in here in the dashboard, I've got the Excel workbook tagged up, and there are metadata in there that just kind of say, all right, we're pulling the project. If you see this project name field, it is the project name. So here I can actually take advantage of natural language query and say, all right, show me my project actual costs. The project ID is kind of cryptic and doesn't really make sense to me. So maybe I want to say like by project name, so I can associate that with my query. And then let's say I want to sort it. I can say like sort by project name. Let's do that. So just like that, I created a quick table just by typing. And what's really neat about Power BI and Office 365 is I can now pin this to my primary dashboard. So by doing that, if I navigate back to the main dashboard, out here if I scroll down, you can see that table that we just created. So that's pretty cool because normally to get that data, I might have to create a workbook, create a data source to where I want to pull data from, create a pivot table, and by that point I'm still in the client. I haven't even seen it on the web yet. So just like that, I was able to create a quick query, pin it to my dashboard, and then it is available across multiple devices. Power BI did build a native iOS app, and they have a Windows app as well. So basically, my executives can take their tablet around, and they can navigate their dashboards at their leisure. I'll drill into a couple of these cards here. So if I look at number of projects, here, this is the view I wanted to show you. Ooh, it looks a lot better. Cool. So basically here I can see a snapshot of my projects, my cost, total cost across departments. I can look at my burn down, and this is fully interactive. So I can filter the page based on a slice of the pie, which is pretty neat. So I can select the IT departments if I want to see the breakdown on my related charts. So that's pretty neat. If I scroll down, here I've taken advantage of bubble charts, lines. There were a bunch of new chart types announced yesterday in the Excel roadmap session, so you'll be able to use those as well. There were some other heat maps and tree views. But here I've got a report on risks, which is great, because we always want to track risks and issues across our projects. Here I'm able to display the top level information on the primary dashboard, and then more detailed information as I drill in. So here I can actually see the list of risks and issues down here at the bottom. Pretty cool? All right, so that was a tour on some of our new developments. So just to recap, we saw some of the resource management scenario end-to-end across Project Desktop and Project Web App. We took a look at some deeper investments in Project Desktop, and then we took a look at how Power BI can help integrate across the suite. So thanks. Now I'll hand it off to Sajan. I think we'll wrap up.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, that was great. And I think I'll just iterate some of the points. If you're going to look at a new deployment, be a new department, please lead with the cloud, because that's how we can give you all of these things faster, quicker, and you can be up and running very quick. At the same time, if you have to stick with on-premise, one point I'll say that in 2013 release, we first built for on-premise, then we took things to the cloud. Now it's the other way around. We're first building for the cloud, and we are building at a scale, like Howard said, I think we have like 10,000 like web front ends for 365, and I think today we'll be the largest project online implementation that we're building. So we're testing at a really different scale, and we're benefiting from a lot of goodness that we're creating for the cloud. Like one example, like Howard gave us, we had to consolidate our databases because we want to run things more efficiently in the cloud, and you'll see that benefit being transferred even to on-premise customers. So those are like two main points which I just want to land for you guys. And let me see. Okay, I need to switch here. Okay, so with regard to next steps, and we'll do a Q&A right in a couple of minutes. There's a list of sessions here that I'll encourage you if you want to learn more about resource management. Like I think we will talk more. We'll have some customer case studies that we are doing like May 5th, like the first row at 1:30 p.m. Then if you want to do a deep dive on Project Desktop, look at the second row. And I see a lot of people here are from IT, and we'll be having a dedicated session for IT project and portfolio management. And that's on May 6th at 1:30 p.m. And there are lots of other sessions that talk to you about how you can deploy Project Server and online. Then the next one is like developer to developer, how you can meet your custom needs with Microsoft Project. That's on May 6th at 5 p.m. And then you want to do more about reports. So we'll talk to you about some real-world reporting scenarios. And finally, as we start to see more and more customers going to the cloud, and we did see a need for us to really communicate best practices, because we see, I think, people can implement or meet their needs differently, and we'll talk to you about some customization best practices. And lastly, we'll talk to you about like sports, some tips and tricks. That's on May 8th. So those are all sessions that we have lined up for you, and if you can take time, that'll be great. And finally, once again, okay, you can come and visit us at our booth. We have like a project booth here, so our teams will be there. At the same time, you should also go and meet with our partners. As I said before, partners really, they make or break project implementation, and we have a really fantastic group of partners here. Finally, we'd love to hear more from you, and if you want to learn more about the project, you can go to office.com/project. If you want to do a trial, the things that you liked here, if you want to just test it out, go to the project online trial, and you can do a trial if you have a Microsoft account team in your account, in your customer, if you have a Microsoft point of contact, or you can talk to one of our partners. And finally, we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. So with that, we are at the end of session. I will take next 5-10 minutes to take any questions you have. If you have any questions, please come up to the mic, and we'll be more than happy to answer those. And Howard, I'd like you to join me here. And thank you, guys.